Next, we'll hear from Jared Lyon, National President and CEO at the Student Veterans of America, or SVA. You're recognized for 5 minutes for your testimony, Mr. Lyons.
Thank you, sir. Chairman Tester, Takano, ranking members Moran and Bost, and members of the committees. Thank you for allowing Student Veterans of America to testify on our legislative priorities for the 2022 legislative calendar. With more than 1,500 on-campus chapters, Student Veterans of America is committed to the empowerment of yesterday's warriors. Through a supportive network of chapter leaders, SVA works to transform the skills and experience of student veterans to ensure that they achieve their greatest potential. In my statement today, I'll briefly discuss some of the most pressing issues that we hear from student veterans and our chapters. We encourage the committees to review our written testimony for a comprehensive list of our policy priorities. In my remarks today and the ones that follow, I'll focus on our 4 policy issues of special importance to SVA in 2022. First is the permanent emergency protections for VA education benefits. As we look to a future beyond the pandemic, it's clear that VA needs broader, permanent authority to proactively protect student veterans' benefits during national emergencies. These committees saw firsthand the gravity of the situation facing tens of thousands of student veterans and their families as the pandemic unfolded in earnest back in March of 2020. The sheer amount of work that was involved to identify holes in VA's support system, craft legislative solutions, and push them through Congress cannot be overstated. While we're grateful for the committee's work in making this happen, let's ensure that we don't have to repeat this arduous task. We strongly encourage these committees to learn from our shared history and make the temporary protections a permanent authority at VA to ensure adequate protections are available for the next emergency. Second, access to VA health care for student veterans. Student veterans' access to VA education benefits is of critical importance, but the needs of student veterans do extend beyond education benefits, and one of those needs is health care. Military service, especially with the recent end to the 20-year war in Afghanistan, can weigh heavily on the minds of student veterans. According to the Journal of American College Health, student veterans are more likely than their peers to experience mental health challenges. But these data demonstrate that if treatment is available to student veterans, they are more likely to seek out and receive treatment. SVA believes that Congress should take steps to ensure that mental health resources are available to student veterans where they are, on campus. An oft-overlooked program is VA's Veteran Integration to Academic Leadership, or VITAL program. VITAL is a joint effort between the Veterans Health Administration and the Veterans Benefits Administration that provides on-campus mental health and support services to student veterans when and where they need it, and coordinates with VHA, VBA, and community care providers. In addition, VITAL provides education and training on student veteran-specific needs for campus faculty and staff to further aid colleges in creating a more welcoming and inclusive community for veterans transitioning out of the military. When viewed in light of VA's whole health treatment objective, VITAL's broad portfolio of services stands out as a well-designed, flexible, and responsive to the day-to-day needs of student veterans. SVA supports expansion of the VITAL program and its capabilities on campuses across the country through increases in annual funding and proper prioritization within VA. SVA has received valuable feedback from student veterans in recent years about how VA can continue to modernize the VA work-study program. One issue that is raised regularly is substantial disparity and opportunities available through VA work-study compared to traditional work-study currently available to non-veteran peers. VA work-study students are largely required to work in roles directly related to VA. This limits greatly participants' ability to learn and develop the skill sets they need to enter the broader workforce upon graduation. As part of our ongoing VFW SVA Legislative Fellowship, we are working with fellow PhD student and Air Force veteran John Randolph of Penn State University to recommend important changes to the VA work-study system. Specifically, John proposes broadening the pool of qualifying work-study opportunities and improving payment rate and structure. We hope to work with these committees to examine further expansion of the VA work-study programs. Fourth is childcare. Childcare needs to be another area that we focus on, as it is a pressure point for many student veterans. Increasing access to childcare is a near universal conversation among SVA chapters, and it is no surprise that given more than 50% of student veterans themselves are parents. Childcare challenges create added pressures for the veterans and post-traditional students that can complicate academic journeys. Finally, I'd like to briefly address 2 additional issues. SVA remains committed to increasing certain monthly housing allowance rates, or MHA, including that of exclusively online learners. And we look forward to working with the committees to address this issue. Second, SVA strongly supports Garden Reserve GI Bill parity. We thank Chairman Levin for championing the House-passed Garden Reserve GI Bill Parity Act, and we encourage the Senate to pass this bill swiftly. And today, on International Women's Day, I'd like to recognize and acknowledge our sisters in arms, who make up nearly half of all SVA chapter leaders nationwide. SVA appreciates the committee's commitment to acting on these issues, which directly support student veterans and their needs. And in doing so, you are ensuring we truly meet the need of all those who have borne the battle. By addressing them, you are ensuring our country delivers on the promise we made to every veteran the day they chose to serve. That service to our country would not just be rewarding on its own, but would leave veterans better off than when they joined. Thank you for your time and attention and devotion to the cause of veterans in higher education. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My questions are also to anyone on the panel. You know, the January veteran unemployment rates are, thank heaven, about 3.8%, which is actually better than the national average. However, this was down from an 11.8% in April of 2020 due to COVID-19 pandemic. What employment programs have you seen that have been most effective at getting our veterans back to work, and what can Congress do to keep these numbers as low as possible?
Sir, I'm happy to take that question. So, when we look at student veterans throughout the United States and their family members who are in school, they're attending school with one of the best reemployment programs that exists. It is the GI Bill. One of the areas that the pandemic shed particular light on, even though the unemployment numbers are low at the moment, is the fact that just over half of all student veterans who are using the GI Bill and in school right now are working full or part-time while they're in school. And so it can't be overstated enough that as we think through job programs that work, to encourage employers to actually reach out to today's student veterans on campuses in their communities where they have open jobs. And if we can try to match better the employment opportunities for student veterans with what they're actually majoring in. Unfortunately, while they're in school, they tend to work in retail or service jobs, yet their top three majors for this population are business, science, technology, engineering, and math, and health-related fields. And often that second transition after graduating college and joining the workforce can be made more difficult when you don't have working experience in the industry that you've majored in. So encouraging folks to reach out from an employment perspective to those working adults who are back in school, today's student veterans. Thank you, sir.
Any of you been watching closely our Vet Tech program and the success of the Vet Tech program? And comment on the success of it. I know that it is one of the highest actually placement ones that are out there. And then the next question on a follow-up on that is, are you concerned right now we're seeing that it's beginning to run out of funds, and do you feel that that's something that should be pushed to the front and taken care of very quickly to make sure a program like that continues?
Sir, I don't mind jumping in again here. Vet Tech came to being when Forever GI Bill became a reality in 2017. And each year that the pilot program has been available, it's run out of funds quicker than the demand for the program. When we think of education and training in the broadest sense, the majority of GI Bill users are actually attending post-secondary education. They're achieving their degrees. So programs like Vet Tech actually reach out to those veterans who potentially are not planning to go to college and are looking for education and training opportunities beyond the traditional degree. I think in an ever-shifting economy, as we look to make sure that veterans remain competitive as a workforce, programs like Vet Tech should be prioritized with their ability to make sure that they're properly funded to meet demand for today's veterans.
Ranking Member Rosendale, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. And I really enjoy seeing all of our VSOs here in the meeting live. It's great to have you here joining us, really. And thank you so much for all your advocacy for the veterans. We really do appreciate that. Mr. Brown, I don't have a question for you, but I really appreciate your statement on a number of benefits that the Veterans Administration seems to offer back out and declare that they will cover, and then to actually rescind that at the last moment when the veteran really relies upon it. And I, for one, sure recognize the just the unpredictability and the havoc that that creates in a veteran's life, not to mention the other veterans that look at that circumstance and say, well, why in the world would I want to get involved in an operation like that that can't run itself properly? So thank you very much for that input. Which brings me to the question that I want to go to Mr. Lyon about. The previous panel that we had here, I was talking to them about this change in interpretation, not a change in law, not a change in statute, but a change in interpretation and the 8515 recognition for our students to be able to get education benefits from the VA. And I was wondering if you had any of your members already run into this, because apparently it's starting to roll out, or could you expound upon what we could anticipate this fall if this isn't sorted out?
Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. And, you know, generally speaking, with the issue that you're bringing up, there's certainly big areas of concern. I think chief among them is certainly as it pertains to institutional compliance and the way in which VA is interpreting and presenting guidance. I mean, I think ultimately, regardless of how many folks are impacted, and there certainly are, the VA guidance is kind of paramount. And just taking your interest, we'd love to work with you and your team to have a better opportunity to have greater sort of clarity and communication from VA relative to this new change in interpretation.
I really appreciate that. And we're trying right now to apply pressure on the VA to clarify and basically just to return to the interpretation that they had been using for 60 years. I mean, going back to the GI Bill to make sure that the students were able to get that benefit that they were promised when they actually enlisted. That's where we're supposed to be.